Ambassador Prex Tannhauser adjusted his ceremonial robes as the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. The blue-green planet below seemed impossibly pristine, a treasure waiting to be claimed by the Ralkari Federation. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction. These humans, barely a century into their space age, had no idea what was coming. Final approach to the United Earth Government headquarters, Ambassador the pilot announced. The human delegation awaits. Excellent. Tannhauser turned to his aide. Are our special preparations in place? Yes, Ambassador. The ceremonial staff contains the neural disruptors, and our honor guard's ceremonial armor conceals enough weaponry to secure the building. The humans suspect nothing. The landing was smooth, almost disappointingly so. Tannhauser had expected more primitive facilities from such a young species. As he emerged from the shuttle onto the landing pad, he noted the impressive skyline of New Geneva stretching toward the clouds. These humans had built well, he had to admit. All the more reason they would serve the Federation perfectly. A delegation of humans approached, led by a tall woman in a blue uniform adorned with gold insignia. Ambassador Tannhauser, welcome to Earth. I'm Admiral Sarah Winters, representing the United Earth Government. Tannhauser bowed, his ceremonial staff touching the ground. The neural disruptors inside hummed almost imperceptibly. Admiral Winters, the Ralkari Federation extends its warmest greetings to humanity. We look forward to establishing lasting bonds between our peoples. The human security detail was surprisingly sparse. Just 4 guards flanked the Admiral as she led them into the building. Tannhauser's inner eyelids flickered with amusement. The conquest would be even easier than expected. They proceeded through several corridors, each more impressive than the last. The walls displayed artworks from human history, depictions of battles, treaties, and great moments of their civilization. Tannhauser noticed one recurring theme: humans fighting against overwhelming odds, yet emerging victorious. He dismissed it as artistic propaganda. The conference room was circular, with a magnificent view of the Alps. 12 human representatives sat around a polished table, with spaces reserved for the Ralkari delegation. Tannhauser took his seat, positioning his staff carefully. Before we begin, Admiral Winters said, her voice carrying an odd edge, I believe we should address the matter of your concealed weapons. Tannhauser's heart nearly stopped. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a tell he'd never managed to control. I assure you, Admiral, we carry only ceremonial items as befitting this historic occasion. Indeed, Winters pressed a button on the table. A holographic display sprang to life, showing detailed scans of the Ralkari delegation. Every hidden weapon was highlighted in red. Perhaps you'd care to explain why your ceremonial items include neural disruptors, plasma cutters, and enough explosives to level this building. The honor guard tensed, reaching for their concealed weapons. Tannhauser raised his staff, preparing to activate the disruptors. But before he could act, panels in the ceiling slid open. Dozens of combat drones descended, their weapons trained on the Ralkari delegation. Did you truly believe, Winters asked, her voice now cold as space itself, that we would welcome an unknown alien species without thoroughly scanning them? That we would be so naive? Tannhauser's mind raced. The invasion fleet was already approaching, hidden behind Earth's moon. If he could just stall for a few more minutes. Admiral, there has clearly been a misunderstanding. These are standard security measures for our diplomats, nothing more. Interesting. Winters stood, her height suddenly seeming more imposing. Because our long-range sensors detected your fleet 2 days ago. The one hiding behind our moon? The one that just walked into range of our planetary defense grid? As if on cue, the sky lit up with brilliant flashes. Through the window, Tannhauser watched in horror as his mighty invasion fleet was torn apart by weapons he hadn't believed humans possessed. The Ralkari Federation has committed an act of war against humanity, Winters declared, her voice carrying the weight of judgment. You sought to conquer us through deception, believing us primitive and naive. That was your first mistake. Your second was assuming we would show mercy to those who come in peace, but bring war. Tannhauser slumped in his chair, his grand plans crumbling around him. As security forces surrounded the delegation, he realized the Federation had gravely underestimated these humans. They weren't primitive at all, they were dangerous predators who had learned to hide their teeth behind diplomatic smiles. The last thing he saw before being taken into custody was Admiral Winters speaking into her communicator. Operation Trojan Reverse is complete. Commence Phase 2. In that moment, Tannhauser understood with crystal clarity the Ralkari Federation hadn't sprung a trap on humanity. Humanity had sprung a trap on them. Admiral Venna Brightscale stood on the bridge of the RFS Dominion, her flagship's neural interface feeding her real-time updates from across human space. The failure of Ambassador Tannhauser's mission had been embarrassing, but not catastrophic. In fact, it had given the Ralkari Federation valuable intelligence about Earth's defensive capabilities. Status report on Operation Swift Justice, she commanded, her double-thumbed hands sliding across the holographic display. Her second-in-command, Captain Nex Blackstar, stepped forward. 3 human colony worlds have fallen in the past 72 hours. Minimal casualties to our forces. Their orbital defenses were exactly where our deep space scans indicated. Brightscale's facial tendrils rippled with satisfaction. The humans had been clever enough to detect their first invasion attempt, but they couldn't possibly have prepared all their colonies for war. The Federation's superior technology and tactics were proving overwhelming. "Show me New Eden," she ordered. The holographic display shifted to their most recent conquest. New Eden, humanity's largest off-world colony, had fallen in just 6 hours. Ralkari ground forces patrolled the streets of its capital city, while transport ships landed with occupation troops. "The humans are surrendering in droves," Captain Blackstar reported. "Their primitive projectile weapons barely scratch our armor. Even their energy weapons are generations behind ours. Any resistance? Scattered and disorganized. Nothing our forces can't handle." Blackstar paused, checking his data feed. "Though there is one oddity. Many of the colonists are laughing when we take them prisoner." Brightscale dismissed this with a wave. Stress response. Their primitive nervous systems can't handle defeat gracefully. Have the processing centers begun neural reconfiguration of the prisoners? That's another strange thing, Admiral. The success rate of neural reconfiguration is far below projections. The humans seem to have unusual mental resilience. Increase the power settings. They'll break eventually. Brightscale turned her attention to the next phase of the campaign. "What's the status of the Mars assault fleet?" "Ready to launch on your command. Our new stealth technology renders you as completely invisible to human sensors. They won't know we're coming until it's too late." Brightscale authorized the attack with a thought through her neural interface. Mars would fall, then the other inner system colonies. Earth itself would be isolated, forced to watch as the Federation systematically dismantled humanity's interstellar presence. The next week brought more victories. Titan Base surrendered after a brief struggle. The shipyards orbiting Jupiter were captured intact. Everywhere the Ralkari struck, human forces crumpled before their superior firepower. But something wasn't right. Admiral, a junior officer, interrupted her daily briefing. "We've lost contact with the occupation force on New Eden." Brightscale's tendrils twitched with annoyance. "Communications malfunction." "No, ma'am. They're gone. The entire garrison. The planetary governor reports the humans staged some kind of uprising, but the details are unclear. Similar reports are coming in from 3 other occupied worlds." "Impossible." Brightscale pulled up the tactical display. "Our forces outnumber them 10 to 1. Our technology is superior in every way. How could they possibly?" An alarm blared through the neural interface. The holographic display flickered, showing multiple new contacts appearing from what should have been empty space. "Stealth ships," Captain Blackstar shouted. "Hundreds of them. Human design, but they're using our own cloaking technology against us." Brightscale's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. Those laughing prisoners, the failed neural reconfiguration, the scattered resistance, it had all been a trap. The humans had let them take those colonies, had pretended to be primitive and helpless. "All ships, battle stations," she commanded, but it was already too late. The human vessels opened fire with weapons that shouldn't have existed. Quantum disruptors, plasma lances, gravity bombs, technologies the Federation had thought were decades beyond human capability. The Ralkari fleet's shields, calibrated for much simpler weapons, collapsed under the onslaught. How Brightscale demanded as her mighty flagship shuddered under enemy fire. How did they reverse engineer our technology so quickly? The answer came in a transmission broadcast on all frequencies. Admiral Winter's face appeared on every screen. "Did you really think," the human said, "that your species was the first to try conquering us? That we haven't spent the last century preparing for exactly this scenario? Your arrogance blinded you to a simple truth: everything we showed you was a lie. Our weakness, our primitive technology, our disorganized resistance, all of it designed to draw you in, to make you overconfident." The RFS Dominion's engines died as some unknown weapon drained their power. Brightscale watched helplessly as her invasion fleet was systematically destroyed or captured by the suddenly not-so-primitive humans. "You could have had peace," Winters continued. "Real peace, real alliance. Instead, you chose conquest. Remember that choice in the days to come." As human boarding pods attached to her crippled flagship, Admiral Venna Brightscale finally understood. The Federation hadn't been launching the invasion. They'd been walking into humanity's carefully prepared killing ground, their supposed strategic victory nothing but a carefully crafted illusion. Security officer Lax Meridian didn't like puzzles. In his 20 cycles with the Ralkari security force, he'd learned that patterns were meant to be simple, predictable. But nothing about these humans followed any pattern he recognized. "Play the security feed again," he ordered, studying the holographic display in his office on New Eden. The footage showed a group of human prisoners in Processing Center 17. They were singing, not screams, not pleas for mercy singing. The same tune, over and over, something about 99 bottles. "This is the 5th group this week," his assistant, Junior Officer Pax, noted. "Different humans, same song." Meridian rubbed his cranial ridges, and still no success with neural reconfiguration. None. The machines work perfectly in testing, but when applied to humans, Pax shrugged her shoulder plates. "It's like their minds are built differently. The process just doesn't take." Another alert flashed across Meridian's neural feed. 3 more Ralkari guards had vanished from their posts. No signs of struggle, no blood, no bodies. Just empty patrol routes and deactivated armor signals. "Show me the disappearance sites," he commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing a map of the colony's main settlement. Meridian's inner eyelids narrowed as he studied the pattern. "Notice anything strange?" Pax leaned forward. "They're forming a shape." "Exactly. The disappearances aren't random. They're methodical, like someone's drawing something." Meridian overlaid the previous week's missing patrol locations. "See? It's expanding outward, spiral pattern." A burst of laughter echoed through the building's ventilation system. More humans singing in their cells. Meridian had ordered sound dampeners installed 2 days ago, but somehow the singing kept getting louder. Sir Pax's voice carried an edge of worry. "Have you noticed the maintenance droids acting strange?" "Define strange." "They're cleaning areas that are already clean, moving in formations. And yesterday I swear I saw one stop and watch me for several minutes before continuing its route." Meridian accessed the droid control network. Everything appeared normal, but run a full diagnostic on the maintenance system. "Security override denied," the computer responded. "That's impossible. I have alpha clearance." "Security override denied. Have a nice day." The singing grew louder. Through his office window, Meridian watched a group of humans being escorted to the mineral processing plant. They were smiling. Every single one of them was smiling. Sir Pax pointed to their holoscreen. The prisoner count. Meridian's blood ran cold. According to the system, they had exactly the same number of prisoners as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. But he'd personally overseen the arrival of 3 new transport ships this morning. "Lock down the facility," he ordered. "Full containment protocol. Security override denied. Have a nice day." The lights flickered. Just for a moment, but enough to send Meridian rushing to his personal emergency terminal, the one that wasn't connected to the main network. He began typing frantically, documenting everything he'd observed. "The humans aren't resisting," he wrote. They're infiltrating. Every system, every protocol we've established, they're turning it against us. The neural reconfiguration failures weren't failures at all. They were letting us waste time and resources on a process they'd already defeated. More laughter echoed through the vents. The maintenance droids in the corridor outside had stopped moving, their optical sensors all turned toward his office door. The disappearances aren't random attacks, he continued typing. They're a message. The humans are showing us how completely they've compromised our security. The singing, the smiling psychological warfare. They're not afraid of us. They never were. Pax screamed. Meridian spun around to see her staring at her hands. Her armor's color was changing, shifting to match the wall behind her. Active camouflage technology, but the Ralkari had never given their junior officers that capability. How long, he demanded. How long have you been compromised? His assistant smiled, a perfect imitation of the human expression. Long enough. Did you really think we'd let you take our worlds without a plan? That we'd build colonies without building in ways to take them back? The door slid open. The maintenance droids rolled in, but their panels were different now, upgraded with technology that shouldn't have existed. Behind them came the smiling prisoners, except they weren't prisoners anymore. Their restraints fell away, revealing hidden weapons and armor. The humans you thought you captured, not Pax explained, were soldiers and engineers. Every work crew you sent them to was another chance to access your systems. Every neural reconfiguration attempt gave us more data about your technology. You didn't break us, Security Officer Meridian, you taught us. Meridian lunged for his emergency beacon, but his armor wouldn't respond. The maintenance droids had him surrounded, their innocent cleaning attachments transforming into something far more sinister. The singing was a countdown, one of the humans explained, still smiling. 99 bottles. 99 hours until we took back what's ours. Your leaders were so focused on your big strategic victories that they never noticed the little things. Like how your automated system started serving human-compatible food 2 weeks ago. Or how your translation software began incorporating human idioms. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was too late. Meridian finished. Through his window, he watched as supposedly imprisoned humans emerged from every building, taking control with practiced precision. In orbit, the planetary defense platforms that should have been under Ralkari control were turning, reorienting toward the Federation's fleet. If it makes you feel better, not Pax said, you were the only one who noticed something was wrong. The only one who put the pieces together. Unfortunately for the Federation, you noticed too late. The lights went out across the colony. When they came back on, the Ralkari occupation force found themselves occupying nothing but a carefully laid trap. Commander Jack Stone watched through his neural interface as another Ralkari patrol walked right past his position. Their advanced sensors swept the area, finding nothing but empty buildings and scattered debris. Stone smiled. They still hadn't figured out that humans had cracked their sensor codes weeks ago. Every scan they ran showed exactly what his team wanted them to see. Ghost lead to all units, he subvocalized through the quantum comm network. Execute Operation Mockingbird. Across the ruins of New Eden's capital, hidden speakers began playing the sound of children laughing. The Ralkari patrol froze, their helmet sensors swiveling wildly. They'd learned to fear that sound. 3 days ago, a similar patrol had followed the laughter into what they thought was a refugee camp. They'd found empty buildings rigged with gravity pulse generators instead. The entire patrol had been stuck floating helplessly until their power cells died. Look at them, Lieutenant Amanda Nash whispered from her position 2 buildings over. They're actually huddling together. Biggest, baddest conquerors in the galaxy, scared of kindergarten noises. Stone checked his tactical display. The Ralkari were following the predicted response pattern perfectly. Team 2, begin Phase 2. The laughter faded, replaced by the sound of Ralkari combat commands. The patrol perked up, hearing what seemed to be reinforcements approaching. But the commands were nonsense, random phrases Stone's linguists had assembled to sound official while meaning nothing. Their command structure is breaking down, Nash reported with satisfaction. They're not even checking authentication codes anymore. Too scared of friendly fire incidents after what we did to their IF systems. Stone remembered that operation fondly. A simple virus in their friend or foe recognition protocols had caused their automated defense systems to target their own troops for 6 horrible hours. The Ralkari had never fully restored their faith in their own technology after that. Team 3, you have a go. Show them today's special trick. The real beauty of human resistance wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their ability to take Ralkari advantages and turn them into weaknesses. Like now, a dozen civilians emerged from hiding, walking calmly toward the patrol. The Ralkari raised their weapons, then hesitated. After the incident with the false surrender that had actually been a Trojan horse operation, they were terrified of causing civilian casualties. Please, one of the civilians called out. We need medical help. Our children. The patrol leader stepped forward, mandibles clicking uncertainly. Their neural interfaces would be screaming at them to follow protocol, to maintain discipline. But humans had learned early on that Ralkari had a deeply ingrained cultural imperative to appear civilized. They couldn't stand being seen as barbaric, especially not after presenting themselves as a superior species. Stay where you are, the patrol leader ordered, but there was doubt in his voice. The civilians kept walking. Behind their simple clothes and desperate expressions, each one wore cutting-edge stealth technology reverse-engineered from captured Ralkari gear. Their apparent helplessness was as much a weapon as any gun. Now, Stone commanded. The civilians vanished, their stealth fields activating in perfect sync. The Ralkari opened fire, but they were shooting at old positions. Before they could regroup, hidden gravity generators activated, sending them floating helplessly into the air. Good morning, Stone called out as he stepped from his hiding spot. Welcome to today's lesson in why you don't underestimate humans. The patrol leader thrashed in the zero-gravity field. Your Commander Stone, the ghost. Nice to be recognized, Stone approached casually, hands in his pockets. You know, we've got a betting pool going about how long it'll take your leaders to figure out what's really happening here. Want to help me win? I've got good odds on never. What do you mean? Stone grinned. Did you really think this was just about defending our colonies? Every time you attack us, we learn. Every piece of technology you deploy, we adapt. Right now, your neural interfaces are uploading everything you see and hear to your command network. And everything in that network comes to us. Nash finished, emerging from her hiding spot. Your encryption was impressive, but turns out it's a lot easier to break when you have thousands of captured neural interfaces to study. Your entire military network is our playground now. The Ralkari soldiers hung silently in the gravity field, their worst fears confirmed. Humans weren't just resisting, they were using the invasion itself as a weapon. Here's today's PsyOps special, Stone announced cheerfully. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Suddenly, every Ralkari neural interface in the sector began playing Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. An ancient human mimetic weapon, deployed with surgical precision. What is this madness? The patrol leader demanded. That's your problem right there, Stone replied. You think this is madness. It's not. It's humanity. We've spent our entire history learning to fight smarter, not harder. You brought superior technology and overwhelming force. We brought creativity and adaptability. Guess which approach works better? He walked among the floating soldiers, casually collecting their weapons. Every time you think you've figured us out, we change the rules. Those civilian casualties you've been so carefully avoiding, half of them were our special forces. The refugees you've been processing, cyber warfare experts. Even your victories were carefully planned defeats. Nash checked her tactical display. Sir, their backup is 3 minutes out. Perfect timing, Stone addressed the patrol again. Don't worry, your friends will find you eventually. Probably right after we've finished using their rescue attempt to test some interesting modifications we've made to your own plasma rifles. Nothing lethal, of course. We're civilized, after all. The sound of approaching Ralkari troops echoed through the streets. Stone and his team vanished into their stealth fields, leaving the patrol floating helplessly. Oh, one last thing, his voice came from nowhere and everywhere. That song we just uploaded to your neural network. It's coded to replay every time you try to delete it. A little gift from humanity's ancient internet culture. Enjoy. As Stone's team withdrew to their next ambush position, The patrol leader finally understood the true horror of fighting humans. It wasn't their weapons or tactics that made them terrifying. It was their ability to turn everything, even defeat, even surrender, even silly ancient songs, into weapons. The reinforcements arrived to find their comrades floating in formation, their neural interfaces stuck in an endless loop of 20th century Earth music, and a message burned into the ground below them: "Thanks for helping us test our new gravity tech. Same time tomorrow." Captain Maria Blackwood stood on the bridge of the U.S. Reckoning, watching the Ralkari fleet gather for their final push toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, their numbers overwhelming. On paper, humanity was about to face its greatest defeat. She allowed herself a small smile. "All ships report ready," Captain Her XO reported. "Operation Pandora is go." "Send the signal," Blackwood commanded. "Time to show them what humanity has been hiding." Across the solar system, human ships emerged from dimensional pockets, technology the Ralkari had dismissed as theoretical. Not dozens of ships, not hundreds. Thousands, each vessel bristling with weapons that shouldn't have existed for another century. Supreme Commander Dax Ravencrest of the Ralkari fleet watched in horror as his tactical display erupted with new contacts. Impossible. Their industrial capacity couldn't support this many ships. About that, Blackwood's voice came through on all frequencies. "Remember those mining operations you so graciously helped us optimize? Those weren't mines, they were shipyards. Every time you helped us improve our industrial processes, you were actually helping us build this fleet." The first wave of human ships opened fire. But instead of conventional weapons, they launched what appeared to be simple probes. The Ralkari commanders laughed at such a pathetic attack, until the probes activated. "Those neural interfaces you're so proud of," Blackwood continued. "We figured out how to hack them 6 weeks ago. Every improvement you made to your network just gave us more access. Those probes aren't weapons, they're override keys." Across the Ralkari fleet, ships began powering down as their neural-linked crews lost control. Weapons systems turned on their own vessels. Navigation computers plotted collision courses. "Stop this," Ravencrest demanded. "This is barbaric." Barbaric, Blackwood's voice was cold. "Like pretending to come in peace while planning an invasion. Like thinking you could enslave humanity through superior technology? No, Commander. This isn't barbarism. This is consequences." The second wave of human ships moved into position. These vessels were different massive carriers that began launching swarms of autonomous fighters. Each fighter was equipped with gravity manipulation technology stolen from the Ralkari and improved upon. "You see," Blackwood explained as the fighters tore through the Ralkari formation, "humans have a unique talent. We don't just adapt to new technology, we improve it. Everything you used against us, we studied. Everything you thought gave you an advantage, we turned into a weakness." Ravencrest watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Ships trapped in gravitational nets, crews incapacitated by their own neural interfaces, fighters that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. "Your fatal mistake," Blackwood continued, almost gentle now, "wasn't underestimating our technology. It was underestimating our nature. Humans don't just fight wars, we learn from them. Every battle, every skirmish, every occupation, it was all data, all experience, all preparation for this moment." The U.S. Reckoning moved into visual range of Ravencrest's flagship. It was massive, far larger than any human ship should have been. Its hull was covered in technology that made his sensor officers weep, perfect hybrid of human ingenuity and upgraded Ralkari systems. "That's not possible," Ravencrest whispered. "We've been fighting for less than a standard cycle. You couldn't have built this." "We didn't build it during the war," Blackwood revealed. "We built it before you ever arrived. Along with the rest of this fleet. Those primitive ships you've been fighting? Decoys. Old tech we kept around specifically to make you overconfident." The truth hit Ravencrest like a physical blow. "You knew we were coming. Not you specifically. But we knew someone would. Humanity hasn't just been preparing for war, Commander. We've been preparing for this exact moment, the day when some advanced civilization would decide we were easy prey." The last of the Ralkari fleet's resistance crumbled. Ships hung powerless in space, crews trapped in their own neural networks, watching helplessly as human vessels took up perfect firing positions. "You have a choice," Blackwood offered. unconditional surrender, or we demonstrate exactly how much we've improved your weapons technology. You have 5 minutes to decide. Ravencrest looked at his tactical display one last time. The mighty Ralkari fleet, terror of a dozen star systems, had been reduced to floating hulks in less than an hour, not by brute force, but by careful planning and devastating technological superiority. "We surrender," he transmitted. "May the gods have mercy on us for waking this sleeping giant." "Gods have nothing to do with it," Blackwood responded. "This is purely human ingenuity. Remember that the next time your Federation thinks about conquest." As human boarding teams secured the Ralkari vessels, Blackwood sent one final message to Earth Command: Operation Pandora complete. "The box is open, and all their demons belong to us now." The last stand of the Ralkari Federation took place where they had won their first victory, New Mars colony. Governor Thex Nightweaver watched from his command center as the remnants of their occupation forces tried desperately to hold their position. "Status report," he demanded, though he already knew the answer. "We've lost contact with all other colonies," his aide reported. "Earth forces have neutralized our orbital defenses. Ground troops are reporting massive defections as the neural network continues to collapse." Through the armored windows, Nightweaver could see human forces advancing across the Martian landscape. They weren't rushing, weren't showing any signs of bloodlust or revenge. They moved with the calm precision of surgeons excising a tumor. "Send the message," he ordered. "We request terms." The response was immediate. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the command center. Admiral Winters, the same human who had outsmarted them during their first diplomatic mission, stood before them. "The Federation's request for terms is acknowledged," she stated. "Be aware that these terms are non-negotiable." Nightweaver straightened his spine. "We are prepared to discuss reasonable." "No discussion," Winters interrupted. "You will listen. First, the Ralkari Federation will withdraw all forces from human space immediately. Any vessel or personnel remaining after 48 hours will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Second, all technology used in your invasion will be surrendered to human authorities. This includes neural interfaces, weapons systems, and especially your stealth technology. Consider it payment for the education you've given us in their use." Nightweaver's mandibles clicked in frustration. "You cannot expect us to." "Third," Winters continued as if he hadn't spoken, "the Federation will provide full compensation to all human colonies affected by your invasion. Our economists have already calculated the amount based on your own records. Yes, those records you thought were secure. We've had access to them for weeks." The human forces had reached the outer defense perimeter. They didn't attack. They simply stood there, a wall of advanced technology and unwavering resolve. Fourth, the Federation will acknowledge human space as a sovereign and protected territory. Any future diplomatic contact will be conducted through approved channels with full transparency. Any vessel entering our space without explicit permission will be considered an act of war. "You're asking us to admit defeat before the entire galaxy," Nightweaver protested. "No," Winters corrected. "We're giving you the chance to avoid admitting something far worse, that a species you considered primitive not only defeated you but had been playing you from the start. Accept these terms and history will record this as a simple territorial dispute, resolved through diplomacy. Refuse." She let the threat hang in the air. Behind her, Nightweaver could see more human ships arriving in orbit. Each one bristled with weapons that shouldn't have existed, technology that had been theoretical when the invasion began. Finally, Winters concluded, "You will return Ambassador Tannhauser and all other prisoners to human custody. They will be treated well better than your forces treated our civilians." Nightweaver slumped in his chair. "And if we refuse?" "Then we demonstrate exactly how much we've learned about warfare from studying your invasion. Everything you've seen so far has been humans fighting defensively. Would you like to see what we can do when we actually want to destroy something?" The choice was clear. The Federation had gambled everything on humanity's weakness, only to discover they had been strong all along. Not just strong, patient, calculating, willing to absorb early losses to achieve total victory. "We accept your terms," Nightweaver transmitted. "Wise choice," Winters' hologram nodded. "Remember this day, Governor. Remember what happened when the Federation mistook patience for weakness, preparation for primitiveness. The next species that tries to conquer humanity won't get terms. They'll get consequences. As human forces took control of the colony, Nightweaver watched his troops surrender their weapons and neural interfaces. The humans accepted each surrender with professional courtesy, no gloating, no revenge. Somehow, that made it worse. One last thing Winters added before terminating the transmission. Those neural reconfiguration centers you built in our colonies? We're converting them into museums. Future generations should know the price of arrogance. The Federation's last foothold in human space fell not with a bang, but with quiet efficiency. As Nightweaver boarded the transport that would take him home, he realized humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their technology or tactics. It had been their patience, their willingness to lose battles to win the war, to appear weak while building strength, to learn from their enemies until they could turn every advantage into a fatal flaw. The Ralkari Federation had sought to conquer humanity. Instead, they had taught them how to be unconquerable.